Gary, I emailed you and Caitlin, the college's post-caucus proposal here, which I've accepted all the language that was common to both of our last proposals. And so the only difference is, so we accepted striking of the Faculty Development Institute at this point in time. Need to look at that further, I guess. But we are not agreeable to the additional stipends to the health program directors. Everything else is the same. And I don't know, Stan or Billy, if you want to address any of the thought on the health program directors, but
I would like the college to go on record of why they're adamantly opposed to giving $1,000 stipend increase. We do have some supporting evidence that I'd like to present afterwards, but I would like the college to go on record about that.
I don't think I would do it justice. So I don't know, Stan or Billy, do you want to address that?
Sure. Dr. Gabbard, would you like to share? And then I'll also participate.
Sure. So Gary, just a couple of thoughts here. It's like there are definite differences in the roles of the program directors within the health programs. We have program directors that have accreditation responsibilities, which is a huge part of what they do. There is annual reports. There is an accreditation self-study. For example, we just finished a almost 4,000 page report that person that has an accreditation responsibility has to do. They have to host a site visit whenever those accreditors come, versus I have some programs that do not have any of those responsibilities. So we have inequities within what the program directors do now. So certainly something we are willing to look at and consider, but right now to give a blanket across the board $1,000 when I know that we have differences among our program directors is something that we need to have time to look at. Second, I don't know if you recall, but a couple of years ago, faculty and had requested the introduction of a clinical coordinator. We do have that clinical coordinator here that also has taken on some of the responsibilities that were previously assigned to program directors. It is a small portion, but it is a portion of that overall workload. And three, the program directors, although it may not be in dollar amount or pay, they are also a reduction in load by 60 hours every semester to be able to fulfill those responsibilities. With that amount of money that they get is comparable to what the workforce program directors get. So that is the rationale behind where we are with that position at this time.
Okay.
I'd like to invite Caitlin Guiley to come back on and share with you. This is a sticking point for us right now. This agreement is being held up by this. In our caucus, I was told by faculty, we want this. And so this is a sticking point. So I'd like to turn it over to Caitlin Guiley for a moment. And she has some data that can show some justification for this. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Okay, thanks. Let's see, can I share the screen, please? Okay. So this document is from 2016. There was an ad hoc committee that included administrators and faculty who did a lot of research and looked at the department chairs for arts and sciences and the program directors and coordinators that we now call directors in the divisions. In 2016, the administration and the faculty agreed that $8,000 would be an appropriate stipend for these positions. This was in 2016. So the year one would be, or so 17 would be 6,000, 18 would be 7,000, 2019. The administration thought that $8,000 was an appropriate stipend for these positions. This did include the course release. If, budget was tight back then. So I recognize it's been a tough decade for college budgets. And we appreciate that the administration are good stewards of our budget and we don't spend money we don't have. But we do have more money now. And hold on a sec. If we take that $8,000 and put it in an inflation calculator, $8,000 in 2019 would be now $9,271. And the administration isn't even willing to pay $6,000. I can understand, concerns about the budget. When we agreed to the $5,000 stipend in the spring for that MOU, we didn't have the state budget yet. But we do have the state budget yet now. And last session, bargaining session, the spreadsheet showed that the administration has $35,000 available for stipends. The difference between the August 5th proposal and the August 8th proposal is $5,769. If you add in that addition from the increase in the bachelor's degrees, main difference, and $3,000 for the mentoring and $7,000 for a $1,000 increase for the 7 program directors, it's $15,769, which is $20,000 less than what's available. We find it very frustrating. Morale among faculty is very low. We appreciate that we are getting increases in raises. We appreciate the faculty's willingness to compromise on many issues, but it's frustrating that when we do have money available, the administration is not willing to invest in our faculty for $1,000 stipend for people who work very hard to do the accreditation. We originally proposed an additional $2,000. We were willing to compromise and brought it down to $1,000. So this is very frustrating for faculty. I think Julie has something.
Anybody else on our team have anything they want to add?
Julie did. You're on mute.
About that. A comment in terms of the really inequities in terms of job really requirements for program directors or department chairs or directors in workforce. I think there will always be differences, and I don't understand the health director's position like I do the department chair position. But the 3 years when I was department chair, there were clearly differences in what our oversight was. And in part, it was because of the pandemic. Sometimes it's because of a new program that comes in one of the departments that's not in another. But I don't think you want to hold up this very small increase because sometimes there is going to be this area where these folks, maybe, 1 or 2, work harder, have more on their plate, have more accreditation things that are kind of high stakes compared to somebody else. So it doesn't seem appropriate to hold that off, this very small amount, in addition to the fact that we're asking only for $15,000 on the increase in the $35,000 for the extra in the MOU. So that's reduced a bit from what was stated to be available. So it really feels like an important morale boost, important in terms of maintaining our program, our health sciences and nursing program being top notch and always wanting to maintain that. This is just one small way of putting something in to say, let's keep that going. And it just seems unreasonable to not make that change because of, things will always be a little bit unequal. For in the sciences and during the pandemic, there was a lot on my plate as department chair that other folks didn't have. I didn't ask for more money. I didn't expect it, but those differences will always be there. And we can't just put that on hold because of that. And I think that's where we stand as faculty and would like to just see this good faith towards just promoting on multiple levels those folks that are in the health field and program directors. All right.
Thank you, Julie. Anybody else from our team? I want to echo what Julie said, is it's kind of, this is a very small amount of money we're arguing over, yet it's something that's very important to the faculty in terms of morale and et cetera. So I guess I'm asking the administration to reconsider that. But at this moment, I can't agree on behalf of the faculty to sign the MOU the way it is. We'd like to take another caucus about it if you'd like to. But it's really important to the faculty that be added in.
We can do another caucus if you want. I'm not sure that the college positions change. I think we view this as our best offer, but we can talk about it one more time. You can talk about it one more time. I don't think it should hold up the MOU. Certainly, I think there's, I recognize that the union views the budget for stipends $35,000, but I'll reiterate, I don't think we view it that way, and some of these stipends, if we've reiterated in each session, we're continuing to look at and study some things. So not necessarily ruling out things for the future, but we reject the position that, hey, we've got money we can throw at it now, let's just throw money everywhere. I paraphrasing, so I know you don't
I
agree
really
with
don't
that.
think that was our position. We want the money to be used appropriately.
If it's used now
not just to
and we
throw it
decide
away.
we want something next year that we want, it won't be available for next year, or we've moved the monies around in various pots. So the fact that at one position a month and a half ago said there's 35,000 we were looking at for potential stipends is not something set in stone. Every move you make changes the equation for everything else. So I just don't want to get hung up on that as if there's as if we're being stingy just to be stingy. There is a rationale behind it. We're looking at what are people doing now? Should they get more? Should we study it for the future? Things of that nature. So, we can talk about it more in caucus. I'm certainly not the subject matter expert on those things. And
I'm not accusing the college of being stingy, but I also want to take on the faculty's behalf is we're not just saying throw money at everything. We want it to be used appropriately. And if there's not an appropriate place for it, well, we won't use it at this point in time. But we're also talking about this stipend, just to clarify one thing, is this is a 1-year stipend we're dealing with right now, because we're going to renegotiate for next year the stipends for the program directors and et cetera. So this would be a 1-year increase. And so if next year the money's not available, it's not available. But that's what we're asking for this year.
yeah, I understand that, Gary. And my phrasing was probably poorly worded. I apologize for that. But if there's morale issues now, if we come back a year from now and we propose something lower, while we know we can do that, and occasionally you have to do that, we try and avoid that wherever we can, because unless there's changes substantively to the position that draws it back, that really causes morale issues. So we don't want to get ourselves in position. I get what you're saying. Why don't we do a caucus, maybe do 15 minutes, let's all kick it around, see if we can't bridge the gap.
Can I ask for a point of clarification on one other thing before we break? One of our nursing faculty asked a question in our caucus. The $10,000 stipend is going to be given to nursing faculty. Do we know if that's going to be paid over time, or is that going to be a one-time lump sum?
I don't know, that's come up. My thought was it was paid over time, but let me defer. I don't know, Darrell or Stan or Billy, do you know Brian Offhorn?
I think it was an overtime method. That's typically how we pay all the other stipends. So it would not be a lump sum. The only time we do the lump sums will be those statement of services that we have, or maybe some of those course revisions, course creation courses, but this would not fall in underneath that same umbrella. We would just take that amount and break it out over the remaining pays of the contract.
Okay, thank you, Darrell. I appreciate that information.
No
Um,
problem.
Brian, if I may, and Gary,
Yes,
before
go
we go
ahead.
to caucus, yeah, please. And first, from the administration part and academic affairs, exactly what Brian Koji said. You know, we recognize the value of our faculty. We certainly recognize the value of our program directors, both in the workforce and in the health programs. Of course, nursing does not have a program director. It's under the purview of the associate dean with faculty, and also certainly our department chairs in arts and sciences. But you know, the document, and again, I recognize the work group activities that were done. Recall, as a result of that, the college made some significant changes to all of those positions, including in select areas, divesting the faculty, removing those several duties, listening to you as a result of the bargaining sessions to remove some of those duties from the department chairs and in the directors. Additionally, recall we added administrative positions to offset and shoulder some of those responsibilities. We have an assistant dean in workforce. We have an assistant dean in arts and sciences, and so those, and of course the clinical coordinator. Again, all voiced by, supported by the faculty. So I just want to, from a principle perspective, a philosophical perspective, just to make sure that we're clear in when we're having these discussions, that it's not additional duties that have been shouldered by these positions, but actually the converse is true. We've removed positions. And to Professor Hendrickson's point, Julie, I certainly recognize the work you did in during the pandemic. Everybody worked exceedingly hard to get us to where we are today for our students, and we applaud our faculty's responsiveness. But I
Dr. Gina, you cut out there, or at least I can't hear you. Been having some technical difficulties today with some people getting dropped, so.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say that we were all very much invested in making sure the faculty had the resources per your recommendation so that you can best meet the needs of the students. So that's it. Appreciate your listening. Thank you.
All right,
Why don't we take a, it's 20, almost 20 after. Can we come back at like 10:35? I think 15 minutes would be appropriate time.
sounds good. Let's go ahead and do a caucus.